Hari Om. Ajam nirvikalpam nirakaramekam niranandamanandamadvaita punam param nirgunam nirvishesham niriham parabrahmarupam ganesham bhajema parabrahmarupam ganesham bhajema. Shri Guru Namaha. Namaste. Welcome to session 99 of Bhagavad Gita verse by verse. Before I take you to the day's agenda, I must share the loss of a profound Vedic scholar who didn't call himself one. He preferred to be referred as Vedadhyayi, a student of late Pandit Sudhakar Chaturvedi, the spiritual advisor to Mahatma Gandhi, and who lived for 122 years. Yes, I am referring to Veda Guru Sudhakar Sharma, who left for his eternal abode at a not so ripe age of 65 years. Just like our Dr. Hegde sir, he always insisted never to address him as Guru and considered himself a senior student. He was a staunch Arya Samaji in the parampara of Swami Dayananda Saraswati, founder of Arya Samaj. He never compromised on Nirguna Brahma. He was a firm view that Veda was not forbidden to anybody, including women. Veda means vidya and is open to all. He was saying it is the duty of a teacher to teach Veda to all yachakas. He revived the mission back to Vedas, initiated by the founder Swami Dayananda Saraswati. He was a firm belief that Vedas are not only for Hindus, leave alone Brahmins, but to the entire humanity. And Vedas aren't religious texts, but a constitution to a better way of life. Sri Sudhakar Sharma dedicated his entire life in pursuit of Vedic truth and spreading this Vedic knowledge to one and all. He not only taught Vedas in his own unique way, but lived a Vedic life to the core like Swami Ramatirtha. Before concluding this tribute, I wish to recollect his famous words. Puja is inculcating the qualities of God in me. Bhakti is manifestation of that God through me. And Yajna is to retain this manifestation forever. Let us bow our head to this great soul who has left his costume. Let us pray for his Sadgati. With our reverential pranams to this Mahachetana, let us continue our study of chapter 13 today. Our teachers will today explain verses 11 to 15 of this chapter, followed by the chanting of these verses. Now, before Dr. Hegde sir gives us introduction to the day's topic, I request Srimati Mamata Shankar to give a brief recap of verses we studied in our previous session. Mamata, please.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. This talk will focus on summarizing the verses 6 to 10 of chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita. In these set of verses, Krishna elaborates on Kshetram, which is the material universe. In the next slide, universe has been divided into categories or divisions known as tattvams. These tattvams describe the evolution of the universe in 4 stages. Prior to the evolution or emergence of the universe, it was in potential form, and that potential form of the universe is called Prakriti, or the basic matter principle with no beginning or end. Stage 1 of evolution is Prakriti to Mahat Tattva, or cosmic intellect, which is also total matter. Stage 2 of evolution is Mahat to Ahankara Tattvam, or cosmic ego, again total matter. Stage 3 is evolution of Ahankara to 16 Tattvams, and they are cosmic mind, 10 Indriyanis, that is Jnana plus Karmendriyanis, and 5 subtle elements, that is Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apaha, Prithvi, in subtle form, which is Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, and Gandha, respectively. In stage 4, 5 subtle elements in stage 3 have evolved to their 5 gross elements, from which the individual gross body evolved. In the next slide, Krishna says, Etat Kshetram Samasena. That is, all these 24 tattvams put together is Kshetram. the inert material universe. The 24 tattvams constantly undergo change and generate properties, also referred to as gunas or vikaras of the kshetram, in the form of likes, dislikes, sorrow, happiness, willpower, and so on, associated with various individual body-mind complex. Krishna says, Sangataha Chetana in verse 7. Sangataha means the body-mind complex, and Chetana means borrowed consciousness. This borrowed consciousness is from the consciousness principle called Kshetrajna. Individual physical body is a modification of 5 gross elements, and mind is modification of 5 subtle elements. The consciousness principle is reflected on the mind, and this reflected or borrowed consciousness makes the mind seemingly sentient or live. Live mind is the one that is involved in experiencing the world and hence categorizing the materialistic experiences as raga and dvesha, in turn resulting in sukham and dukkham, that is happiness or sorrow. And we use our willpower, that is dhriti, to acquire or get away from the objects causing happiness or sorrow. In the next slide, to reduce the effect of the gunas associated with kshetram, Krishna elaborates on Jñānam, a prerequisite to progress in the spiritual path. Jñānam in this context means all the virtues acquired by a person. In other words, a spiritual seeker's sadguna or dharma. List of virtues Krishna highlights are: 1. Freedom from self-conceit at the thought level. In other words, develop humility, amanitvam. 2. Freedom from self-conceit at physical level. In other words, exhibit simplicity and not seek attention. That is, adambitvam. 3. Follow ahimsa or non-violence at the level of kaika, vachika, and manasika. 4. 2 aspects of kshantir for a relaxed mind. That is, titiksha and kshama. Titiksha is accept all the choiceless situations with no complaints, and kshama is capacity to wait for the future to unfold. 5 is alignment with thought, word, and deed, that is arjavam. 6 is worship or reverence for the guru or teacher, acharyopasanam. 7 is maintain cleanliness or purity at the physical, verbal, and thought level, which is shaucham. 8 is perseverance or commitment to continue with the spiritual pursuit in spite of various hurdles that we come across, which is thairyam. 9 is atma nigraha, that is self-restraint or mastery over pancha jnana and karmendriyanis, pancha pranas, mind and intellect. In the next slide, as Krishna continues his discourse, he adds 6 more virtues. He talks about 1, dispassion for sense objects, which is damaha. 2, absence of ego or arrogance or freedom from self-conceit at verbal level, that is anahankaraha. 3 is understand and come to terms over the transformations or deficiencies of physical body with respect to janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi, causing dukkham or sorrow due to body identification. In the next slide, 4 is mental detachment or training the mind, which is samaha. 5 is avoiding over or excessive attachment towards near and dear ones or the objects. And 6 is practice equanimity in favorable and unfavorable situations, which is the essence of karma yoga. In the last slide, in summary, these verses 6 to 10 talk about the concept of the evolution of the universe into tattvams and challenges faced in everyday life. The verses enumerates number of virtues which can be cultivated to tackle these obstacles. Krishna highlights 15 of 20 virtues in these verses, which form building blocks in the pursuit of spiritual knowledge. As I end this talk, I would like to leave you to ponder on a couple of lines from Swami Paramarthananda's speeches. Swamiji says, these virtues are Vedantic friendly virtues which aid us to fulfill the responsibility of the human form, which is self-realization. Thank you, sir. Hari Om.
Thank you, Mamta, for a nice recap of the verses that we studied in the last class. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. We are now in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and in today's class we'll be concluding the Jñānam or the values portion and enter into perhaps, and about this I'm quite certain, today's class and the next class we will be entering into some of the most difficult verses in the entire Bhagavad Gita, and this is the Jñēyam portion, which is the sum and substance of all Vedanta. This is an opportunity for us to revise some of the fundamental principles of Vedanta, especially because we are in chapter 13, which is called Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga, which is the same as Drik, Drishya or Atma, Anatma. Shri Krishna has clearly told us that whatever I experience, that including my body, is Kshetram. And the experiencer in all of us is Kshetrajnam Chapi Mam Vidhi. Remember that the experiencer, the one who's listening to these words in each of our bodies, is none other than the Shri Krishna principle. And this is a Mahavakya, and let us feel the glory of being part of Shri Krishna as consciousness. Constantly what we need to move is from the body-mind to the listener, to the one who is aware. As we go into the 14th chapter, we will have something far more revealing, far more liberating, if this is understood. And this chapter talks of Gunatraya to Guna Atita, which means the real me as Atma, as Kshetrajna, as Purusha, as the Drik. All are different words talking about the same thing. I am Nirguna. I do not have attributes in time. That means I have been there from the very beginning. If there is a beginning, I am Nitya. I will continue to be there till the very end if there is an end. That means there is no beginning, no end. This understanding is enough to understand that we are immortal. I have a sense of being located in this small place in this room. That is because of the mind which relates through this body. But as Atma, I function through every mind. Therefore, I am everywhere. Or I am functioning beyond the mind also. That means the entire space, the entire galaxies are all within me. I have no location or limitations in time or space. Because of the mind, I have a sense of limitation to this body, but the real me is beyond all that. And this itself will help us to reveal that I am Ananta. I am of the nature of consciousness. I am of the nature of existence. Therefore, we need to be able to understand what is this I am. This is a story that happened in the Old Testament, in the chapter called Exodus, where Moses has an opportunity to listen to God. God manifests in the form of a bush on fire. And as he is approaching, he hears a voice which says, "You are on holy land. Please take out your footwear." And then there is a dialogue between God and Moses. God gives Moses the 10 commandments. And Moses, being who he is, he requests before he leaves, "Who are you? What is your name? What should I tell my people? What is your name?" And the voice tells him, "Go tell your people, I am that I am." Meditate on these words. This is the words of the Old Testament. Go tell your people, I am that I am. Kshetrajna, that higher I am principle. I am also I am. Let us meditate on what is this I. Who can say I? Only a person who's conscious can say I. And when you say am, it means I am existent. So whenever you say I am, you are declaring I am conscious and I am existent. Consciousness is also called Chit. Existence is called Sat. So you declare I am Sat Chit. What happens when we are fast asleep? Consciousness and existence have come together. There is no sense of duality. There is no Dvaita. That means I am in a state of Advaita. And because there is no other, there is no sense of limitations, I experience bliss, I experience Purnatva. The moment we wake up, there is the filter of the mind, and the mind brings about a pseudo separation. And I begin to feel I am conscious and I am within this body because there is a body identification. And because of the sense organs, I have a feeling of existence being outside of me. As long as there is a separation or a sense of separation between existence outside and consciousness within, we are in samsara. Then the external world can torment me. I can desire the external world. I want to possess that because it is not me. But then, and then what do? We go through Vishayananda. Vishayananda means we try to experience oneness with the object. I try to possess many things. And whenever I possess something, I have a temporary sense of happiness. When I see a food which I enjoy, and that is existent outside, and I am consciousness here, what do? I take the food, put it in my mouth. For a moment, I meditate. That existence and consciousness have become together. Temporarily, I experience a sense of bliss, and that is conscious existence through Vishayananda. But when you go through Bhagavad Gita, when you go through the Upanishads, what happens? We acquire Atmananda. That means even though I know that there is a world outside, I see a world outside, I can see my body and my mind. I now know that my body-mind is only an instrument. The body-mind is part of an Atma, and whatever I experience is not other than me. It is like me creating a dream world. The dream world is not apart from me. Through this understanding, if I'm able to go through the world, I am in this world, I am in this body, but then what kind of a person I am? I am a Mukta Purusha. I am a Jivan Mukta. And that is the object of this chapter. So let us analyze all our experiences. Now, when you look at the world around, I can see a wall, I can see a window, I can see clothes, I can see furniture. Now, ask yourself, I see so many objects, how do I see them? One thing we take for granted that we should not do, I'm able to see all these things because there is light on those objects. Supposing the power fails, I don't see anything because there is no light on the object. So our teachers train to analyze our experiences, that in every experience, I'm able to see every object because there is light on that object. Because my eyes are functioning, I move now from the object to my eyes. I'm able to see them because my eyes are functioning. Because my mind is there, I'm able to recognize table, chair, computer, clock, all that. I'm able to see now my mind, and my mind is able to see because of consciousness. Therefore, our teachers have taught us that in every experience, prati bodha viditam matam. And this is how we need to conduct our life after studying the 13th chapter. In every experience outside, can I come in touch with the experiencer within? Now, in this class, let us go a little more deeper. This is how we've been always trained to become aware of the consciousness principle. Now, from these verses, from the Jñēyam section onwards, we now have to have a deeper understanding of Vishwarupa Ishvara Darshana, that whatever I see in the world is Vishwarupa Ishvara in the form of existence. Now, every experience I have to do a Drik Drishya Viveka. There is an Anta Drik Drishya Veda. When I do the Drik Drishya Veda, that means I see a thought. I see a man, there is a man thought. Who is seeing that man thought? Consciousness is seeing the man thought. That is called Anta Drik Drishya Viveka. viveka, where I become aware of that consciousness because of which I'm able to see all the thoughts. Bahihi Brahma Sargayuho. Every existent object, every object is existent because of the existence principle. What is this existence principle? In the Drisha Viveka, verse 20, and this is something to remember, every object in the world has got 5 things. Asti Bhati Priya Rupam, Asti Bhati Priya Rupam, Asti Bhati Priya Nama Rupam. Adhyatraya, the first 3, Asti Bhati Priya. Every object has got Sat Chit Ananda. The first 3 are Brahma Rupa. Nama Rupa is Jagat Rupo Tatodvayam. Try to understand this. Now that is why in the course of this chapter, we need to be able to have Drisha Viveka. When a Jivan Mukta sees this world, he knows that Sat and Chit are not 2 things. Although I feel Chit is here, Sat is there, Bhagavan Ramana asks this question, Sattva Basika Chit Pave Itara Sattayahi Chit Chittayahi Aham. Where is there Sat separate from Chit? Although I am seeing Chit separate, Chit here and Sat there, Sat and Chit are not 2 things. I am that Sat Chit Ananta. Swamiji has told us those 5 aspects of consciousness. Consciousness is not part of the body, not a product of the body, not a property of the body. It is an independent entity, just like light is on my hand. It is not part of my hand, not a product of my hand. It is an independent entity. Light is not limited to the boundaries of my hand. Light is all pervading. Even when I take off my hand, light continues to be there, but the light is not recognized because of a want of a medium. Same thing with consciousness. Same thing with existence. This mouse is existence. This existence is not part, product, or a property of this object. It is an independent entity. Existence and consciousness are all pervading. It is not limited to the boundary of this object. If I take this away, existence continues to be there, but it cannot be manifest for want of an object. That means my mind is trained to recognize all objects through Nama Rupa. But through understanding, I will have to be able to see that pure conscious existence, even without Nama Rupa, where in the cave of my heart. Yo Veda Nihitam Guhaya. In the cave of my heart, I need to be able to discover that consciousness and existence are not 2 things. With this background, let us study verses 11. Verses 11 by Vikram Hudait. Remember, we are still in the Jñānam part or values part. Dr. Vikram Hudait, please.
Om Gurubhyo Namaha. Mayi Chananya Yogena Bhakti Ravya Bhikarni Rini Vivikta Desa Sevitva Maratir Jana Samsadi. Constant and exclusive devotion towards me, an inclination for solitude place, and distaste for the mundane society. So in the previous verse, it was pointed that we should maintain equanimity, and Krishna does not give the method. Swamiji has told in 3rd chapter the method, which is Prasada Bhavana. Prasada means gift coming from the Lord. And why it is called Prasada? The word Prasada literally means tranquility of mind. And when you look upon anything as a gift from the Lord, it gives you tranquility of the mind. And this Prasada Bhavana is possible only if I have devotion to the Lord. Without devotion to the Lord, Karma Yoga does not exist. And that is why Dayananda Swamiji repeatedly says, there is no Karma Yoga separate from Bhakti Yoga, and there is no Bhakti Yoga separate from Karma Yoga. Because Karma Yoga exists and is possible only for a person who has got devotion to the Lord. And therefore, Dayananda Swamiji says, there is no question of secular Karma Yoga. So without touching Lord, if you ask whether you can practice Karma Yoga, we have to say no. Atheist cannot be Karma Yogi. And of course, Karma Yogi does not know the ultimate nature of God. He has got his own concept of God in any form. He likes Ishtadevata as Ekarupa Ishvara or Anekarupa Ishvara. And therefore, Krishna wants to say, without bhakti, karma yoga is not possible. And therefore, Arjuna, my bhakti is the next important virtue. Uh, and my bhakti means devotion towards me. Here, the word mai does not refer to Krishna as a person, but it refers to Ishvara, who can be invoked in any form that you like. Krishna, it can be, or Rama, or Ganapati. And when Krishna prescribes bhakti as a necessary condition, we should ask the question, what type of bhakti? It is Jignasu Bhakti, the one who considers that the Lord is the goal itself, not that I want to accomplish something through God. And if I have to choose God as the end or destination, I should have the maturity enough to understand that everything other than God is perishable and therefore cannot give what I want. This bhakti requires vairagyam towards the world. Without vairagyam, this bhakti is impossible. Therefore, vairagya janya bhakti is a devotion in which I know God alone can give me purnatvam, security, fulfillment, etc. And that bhakti Krishna calls avyabhikarani bhakti, a devotion which is unflinching, which is one-pointed. And ananya yogena, with undivided attention, that is, even when the worldly transactions are going, even when the world responsibilities are fulfilled, this devotee remembers that my goal is something else. Purnattam Prapti is the purpose of this life. I have to keep on expanding enough to reach a stage beyond which I should not be able to expand. That is possible only in infinitude, and that Purnatvam is the goal. And reminding it on and off is Ananya Yoga Bhakti, and that is very, very important. Then the next virtue is Viveka Desha Vitvam. This is also considered to be an important virtue. Restoring to a secluded place now and then, developing the habit of going to a secluded place in which I do not have anyone around, and I should find out whether I can confront myself. In fact, seclusion introduces me to myself, and in fact, the fundamental problem of samsara also we come to know only when we are alone. Otherwise, we try to escape ourselves by various diversions. In fact, a materialistic society is one which provides maximum diversion route. And the more you take to diversion, the less you diagnose your problem. And if you do not diagnose the problem, how will we work for the solution? Therefore, solitude is to know more about myself and my problems. And this solitude has got another purpose also, that one expression of samsara. Samsara expresses in different forms, in the form of anxiety, in the form of fear. There are several versions of samsara, and one expression of samsara is sense of loneliness. And this problem of loneliness can attack any person at any time in life, and this can happen in the middle age when the children leave the nest, and it is called nest leaving phase. Or when we grow old, the people who are around, they may leave me. Again, sense of loneliness comes. Thus, loneliness is a potential problem which can attack any human being at any time. If we have to learn to face it, you cannot do when it comes. So, like trying to fight loneliness when it comes is like digging a well when the house is on fire. And therefore, better learn to be alone, better learn to enjoy solitude. And the best way is to go for a walk without a walkman. So and old age will be wonderful if we have learned to tackle loneliness. It is wonderful because the loneliness can be made use of for Vedantic Nididhyasana. So why can't we go through the training rehearsal to gracefully grow old? The best rehearsal is learn to enjoy solitude, not eternally, once in a while, be alone and see what happens. Who says, not Swamiji, do not get angry with me. So it is Viveka Desha Sevitvam. Vivek Vivikta Desha means secluded place. Sevitvam, regularly sorting to, now and then sorting to. You need not go anywhere, even to a terrace. You go, it is okay. Uh, that does not mean that you should not mingle with people at all. Krishna says, I am not saying that you should hate company of people. What Krishna says, do not get addicted to people's company. Jana Samsadi, people's company, neighbors, relatives, etc. And Rati means getting lost. Arati is derived from the root rum, and there is an intoxication called rum. So, it will be like an intoxication. Do not carried away by people's company, because people's company provides you an ideal condition for forgetting yourself. And therefore, Krishna strongly warns, never take to people's company as an addiction or an escapism. And Shankaracharya in his commentary writes a note, but it is okay if it is the association with Satpurushaha. So Sajjana Samsadi Rati is okay because they will guide you properly. Any other place, you should be careful. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Vikram, for giving us a very detailed explanation of these three important values: having devotion to the Lord, to be able to be comfortable with yourself, and not seeking the company of people all the time except satsang. We will listen to the last of these values. Vidya, please.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam Etat Jnanam Iti Proktam Ajnanam Yadatonyatha. Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam, fixing the mind firmly on gaining self-knowledge. Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam, focusing on Jnanaphalam. Etat Jnanam Iti, all this is knowledge. Yat Ataha Anyatha Ajnanam, other than this is ignorance. Iti, thus, Proktam has been said. We have seen that Lord Krishna, after elaborating Kshetra and Kshetrajna, he is dealing with the third topic of Jnanam, which in this chapter means a set of values to help keep the mind a healthy one. Only a healthy mind paves way for the higher pursuit of Jnanam. The second word in the first line, Tattva Jnanartha means Jnanaphalam. From the second chapter onwards, Lord Krishna gives the benefit of this Jnanam off and on. While dealing with Sthira Prajna Lakshanani or Parabhakta Lakshanani, he had said, Prajahati Yada Kaman Sarvan Partha Manogatan Atmani Atmana Tushtaha Sthita Prajnasta Dokhyate. A Jnani is one who is happy and revels with himself. He is self-sufficient with no dependency on external factor. A Jivan Mukti state. Things whether favorable or unfavorable, one will develop a psychological and emotional immunity. Only one has the value for Jnanam, more will be the value for Jnana Yogyata. The path of Jnana Yogyata to Jnanam to Jivan Mukti should be clearly understood. Then comes the final and most important value, Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam, means constantly done Shastra Vicharaha. One must undergo the systematic and consistent study of Vedantic scriptures under the guidance of a competent Acharya. To ascertain this, Swami Paramarthananda brings in the example of a lorry load full of bricks which is dumped on the ground, which is of no use at all. Only when these bricks are arranged and cemented one after the other, then out of those bricks, one can get a beautiful room and a wonderful house where one can live. Similarly, only when we study Vedanta systematically through Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, and Jnana Yoga, one after the other, all of which will lead to self-knowledge. Adhyatma means Atma Jnanam, means inquiry. Nityatvam stands for Shastra Vicharaha. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, Trayam forms the Shastra Vicharaha. Shravana means hearing. Thus, it presupposes the study of scriptures under a competent guru. We have seen earlier, Acharya Upasana is also one of the values. which means Shastra and Guru must go together. Guru is a Guru only when he deals the knowledge through the Shastras. Thus, these values pay way for the knowledge. Shankaracharya tells that it is like Pathyam and Aushadham. Pathyam means the discipline to be followed by a patient, which alone cannot cure the patient. It should go along with Aushadham. Shastric study is Aushadham, and all other virtues is Pathyam. Lord Krishna concludes, Etat Jnanam, these 20 or so virtues, including the Shastric study, together is called Jnanam. Iti Proktam, meaning it is thus said. Yat ataha anyatha ajnanam. Anything opposite to these 20 virtues is ajnanam. To find the opposite of these, we have either to take a from every word or add a like amanitvam, manitvam, adambitvam, dambitvam, ahimsa, himsa, kshantihi, ashantihi. These negative virtues will strengthen the ignorance, while positive virtues or values strengthen the Jnana Yogyata path, which alone Lord Krishna calls as Daivi Sampat and Asuri Sampat in the 16th chapter. Harihi Om. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Vidya, for a very nice explanation with good slides for this last verse on the section of values, where Krishna enumerates 20 values, and he has kept the best for the last. And that is, we need to value the importance of pursuing Jnana Yoga. So constantly do some form of Brahma Vidya at what we are doing. And if you give value to it, then you will be able to get the necessary time, and then you get the benefit of Brahma Vidya. With that, we conclude this section and we go to the next section, which is called Jñēyam. Shri Krishna will introduce a lot of paradoxes, because now we are talking about something very subtle. Now, the moment we come to this section, our listening has to be more intense, because the topic is now becoming much more subtle. Dr. Anupama, please.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, verse 13. Jñēyam yat tat pravakshyami yat jñātva amritam ashnute anadimat param brahma na sat tat na asat uchyate. Here, Lord Krishna is explaining the word Jñēyam. He says, I will teach you that which is to be known. Jñēyam literally means yat jñātum yogyam tat Jñēyam, a mandatory knowledge for solving the problem of samsara, which includes a sense of insecurity, finitude, and essentially the fear of mortality. Krishna says, Yet Jñēyam asti tat pravakshyami, reminding us of the Mandukya Vakyam, Sa Atma Sa Vidneya, Yet Tat Pravakshyami. This knowledge, called Paravidya, makes life worthwhile. Krishna draws Arjuna's attention with this incentive. Yat Jñātva Amritam Ashnute. Yat means Brahman, and Yat Jñātva means knowing Brahman. Amritam Ashnute means one attains immortality or moksha, that is, liberation from the cycle of Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, precisely expressed as Brahmavit Apnoti Param. What is this Jñēyam or Brahman? Krishna here uses two phrases to describe Brahman. First, Anadimat Param and Nasat Tat Na Asat. What is the meaning of Anadimat Param? The word Adi has two meanings. One is beginning and the other is cause or Karanam. Adimat means that which has a beginning or that which is the cause of something. Anadimat means beginningless or causeless. This means absolutely eternal. What is the meaning of Mat Param? Mat means Aham, my higher nature, and Mat Param means my higher nature is Nirguna Ishvara. Anadimat Param means Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam Brahma, the limitless existence consciousness principle. How do we know this Brahman? The Upanishads describe Brahman as Ashabdam, Asparsham, Arupam, Avyayam, and so on. This means imperceptible to our sense organs. Yet vacho nivarthante, meaning words cannot reveal. Ekam evadvitiyam, meaning it cannot be revealed as a relationship or a sambandha or as a comparison to any known thing. To facilitate this teaching, the Upanishads create a mithya sambandha with a mithya world. This is called karya karana sambandha or adhishtana adhyasa sambandha. To understand this, we first temporarily accept this mithya sambandha, wherein Ishvara is the cause or karana of the universe, which now becomes the karyam or effect. This is called adhyaropa. Once Brahman is revealed, negate the world. This is called apavada. The mithya sambandha naturally drops with the understanding of mithya jagat. Brahman now no longer has karya karana attributes. With this background, let's understand na sat tat na asat. Tat here means Brahman and asat means karanam, the potential or unmanifest cause of the universe. Na asat means Brahman is not the karanam or cause of the universe. Sat means karyam, effect or product, and na sat means Brahman is not the karyam or effect. This means that not the effect of this universe. Karya karana vilakshana, beyond the realm of cause and effect. Now, the other interpretation. Sat also means existence. Hence, Shankaracharya explains this as Tat Sat Na Jñēyam. Brahman is not categorized as existent. Our tendency for dichotomous thinking should suggest that Brahman should be non-existent. But Krishna says, Na asat uchyate. Brahman is not in the non-existent category also. Does this mean that Brahman is neither existent nor non-existent? Mind-boggling indeed. Our intellect comprehends our experiences of the past and future as non-existent and the present as existent. Therefore, is Brahman non-experienceable? Since Brahman does not exist in the past, present, or future experiences, it is non-experienceable. Na sat tat na asat therefore negates the entire experienceable or objective universe. Once all these objects are negated, what remains is the witness of that nothing which cannot be negated. And it is this which we call the consciousness principle or the Sakshi. This consciousness is not known as an object, but claimed as I, the subject. Aham Brahma Asmi. Now, we know that this consciousness is not a part, product, property, etc. of the body. It is not limited by the boundaries of not just this body, but even of Sat and Asat, the entire Karya Karana Prapancha. That consciousness, that Jñēyam Brahma, I am. Na anta prajna, na bahi prajna, na ubayata prajna, sa atma, sa Jñēya. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anupama. That is a brilliant and a complete explanation of Sri Krishna trying to introduce the topic. Remember, this is just the introduction, and you can see how confusing the introduction can be. The problem is, Sri Krishna is trying to introduce something so extraordinary by using ordinary words. At the same time, he does not want us to be confused. So these, from now on, from 13 to 19, you will come across seeming paradoxes. Let us be very clear. We are not in Zen, which is full of paradoxes. We are in Advaita Vedanta, which is on the knowledge domain. These are not paradoxes. These are seeming paradoxes. Fortunately, as these talks are recorded, a sincere student will go back to the talk listen to the talks once again, and I can endorse what everything has been said is true. And therefore, we have to see how we can understand these words. Shri Krishna is saying, there is something worth knowing, and I'm going to teach you that, Pravakshami, and that I'm going to tell you about Jñēyam. And once you get that knowledge, which I'm going to teach you, you will become immortal. Now, the big question is, can an immortal person, because of the advice of Shri Krishna, can a mortal person, because after listening to Shri Krishna's 13th chapter advice, become immortal? Impossible. And that is why you will see, even when all these asuras who do a lot of penance and come to the devas and Brahmaji say they want to become immortal, that is one thing I cannot do. Even Bhagwan cannot give you immortality for only one reason. The only reason is you are already that. The problem is we think we are mortal, and therefore the whole instruction is not giving us something new, it is removing ignorance. Words cannot give us knowledge, but words can remove ignorance. That is why in the Taittiriya Upanishad it says, Yat vacho nivartante aprapya manasasaha. We are talking about something where words cannot describe, the mind cannot understand, and yet the teacher, for a prepared student, can say, no, not this, mano, buddhi, hankara, chittani, naham. Go on excluding not this, exactly what Dr. Anupama did. Na sat and na asat. It is neither existent nor non-existent. Then you get confused, but then I am existent. Finally, it comes to the one who is observing, and that is what we need to understand. Dr. Anupama has gone into the details of Bhashyam. And in the Bhashyam, it is Adi Shankara who's trying to explain to a sincere student the difficulty in words, because Brahman has no limitations in time, no limitations in space, has no limitations in attribute. And therefore, when you're trying to give words for something that is nirguna, see, if there is something black or white or some form, I can talk about it, but Brahman has no attributes. Brahman does not have any action. If something is moving, then you can describe it. Brahman can be compared to something. It is the only ekatvat. So there cannot be a comparison to Brahman. So Adi Shankara says, this is the language difficulty. So therefore be patient. The teacher is trying to break his own head and trying to understand. So let us break our own head, as Dr. Divakar tries to explain perhaps the most difficult verse in this section. Dr. Divakar, please.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. After completing the teachings of Kshetram, Kshetrajna and Jñānam, Shri Krishna explains the topic of Jñēyam from the verses 13 till verse 19. As mentioned already, the word Jñēyam means that which is to be known by everyone, that which is the ultimate truth of the universe. Only through this truth, only through this knowledge of this ultimate truth, one attains immortality or moksha. Every human being should necessarily gain this knowledge of reality and attain to one's immortality. Sri Krishna names this ultimate reality as Param Brahma. The absolute Brahman is the ultimate reality of the universe. All Upanishads discuss only Param Brahma or Brahman, and therefore this knowledge is called Brahma Vidya. Shri Krishna gives the essence of Upanishads, the essence of Brahma Vidya, while discussing the Jñēyam aspect from the verses 13 to 19. In the next verse, we will look at the verse. Sarvatah Panipadam Tat Sarvatokshi Shiromukam Sarvatah Shrutimaloke Sarvamavrutattishtati. The word meaning is Tat Sarvatra Panipadam. It has hands and legs everywhere. Sarvatokshi Shiromukam, it has eyes, hands, and mouths everywhere. Shrutimat, it has ears. Sarvatra Tishtati, it remains everywhere. Avritya Sarvam, pervading everywhere. Loke, in the world. Upanishads reveals Brahman as the ultimate substance, the basic essence out of which the whole creation is made up of. The next verse we will see, in the next slide we will see, the science, particularly the quantum physics, accepts that it is the invisible and intangible subatomic particles whose motion together in patterns with energy creates an experience of a visible universe. The scientific quest for that ultimate substance, which is subtler than the subatomic particles, is ongoing. So, more deeper we analyze the creation, the visible becomes invisible, tangible becomes intangible, and concrete becomes abstract. So the ultimate substance must be intangible, formless, and abstract substance, which Vedanta calls as Brahman, while science will continue to explore. So how to conceive this intangible, formless, and abstract Brahman? In the next slide, we will see Swami Paramarthananda ji says, in order to understand this subtlest subject matter, one has to have the intellectual acclimatization. Just like how everything looks dark inside the house soon after we enter from outside on a very hot sunny afternoon, and it takes some time before our eyes gets acclimatized, the topic of Brahma Vidya, the topic of Atma Jnanam, looks extremely tough and daunting for a beginner in the spiritual journey. But if they sustain, if they stick to the Guru and the Shastrams, all the bunch of words will reveal themselves into a wonderful meaning. And how to approach this? Swamiji explains this very beautifully. To describe any attributes in anything, we need a noun and an adjective. You will see this in the next slide. If we take the example of a tall tree or a huge mountain, etc., the tree is the noun and tall is the adjective. So adjectives reveal the properties and the nouns reveal the substances. We look at the next set of examples, golden bangle and wooden chair. Here, the adjective golden or wooden reveals the substance of the noun. This is because the very substance of the bangle is gold and that of chair is wood. So we have either an adjective revealing the property, as in the example of tall tree, or an adjective revealing the substance, as in the example of golden bangle. In the example of golden bangle, although the bangle is the noun, it does not reveal any substance at all. Instead, it represents certain shapes and form of the gold. In other words, it represents the property of the gold. In tall tree example, tree, which is a noun, reveals the substance. But in golden bangle example, gold reveals the substance. And in wood, wood reveals the substance in the wooden chair example. So we have 4 examples. Adjective revealing the property, that is tall. Adjective revealing the substance, example golden. And noun revealing the substance, which is tree, and the noun revealing the property, as in the bangle. In the next slide, we will see, with this understanding of these examples, Swami Paramarthananda explains the most difficult topic of Vedanta, which is this Sat Padartha, or the existence. When I experience the world, I see there is this computer, there is a curtain, there is a house, there is a man, this is the world. What is common in all of this is the word is. So everything we experience is an existent object or person. So when we say this is earth, it means this existent earth. Here, what is the adjective and what is the noun? Vedanta, after giving all the analysis, says that in the sentence existent earth, existent is the noun as it reveals the substance of existence. Whereas the word earth reveals the attributes, names, shape and form, etc. This is just like in the golden bangle example. So the isness of everything we experience represents the existence principle. This existence in Vedanta is called as Sat Brahman. According to Chandogya Upanishad, Tadeva Saumyam Idamagra Asit Ekameva Dvitiyam. The basic substance is existence, and existence is not an attribute of an object, but it is the fundamental absolute substance. This absolute substance is Ekam, one. It is invisible, intangible, and it is the abstract principle. So in the sentence, this is earth, is represents existence, which is the noun, and the earth represents the adjective with properties, as in the example of golden bangle. Sat Brahman is the basic substance. Everything else is Mithya Jagat, which is seemingly existent, but it has no independent existence. Just as how bangle has no independent existence without the gold, so is just the gold appearing as the bangle, or in other words, names and forms of the bangle is superimposing the gold. Vedanta says the world is superimposing the substance, which is the Sat Brahman. In the next slide, we see how to experience this pure existence, this pure Sat. Again, Chandogya Upanishad says, pure existence cannot be experienced because it is never an object of experience. It is the very subject, the witness consciousness. So Vedanta starts in the Sat, the existence principle, and ends in Chit, the consciousness principle. And this was explained earlier by Dr. Anupama. In Tattvamasi, Tat, the pure existence, Sat is nothing but the Tvam, the pure consciousness, Chit. Therefore, pure existence is pure consciousness. Aham Sat Chit Atmayeva Brahma Asmi. So I am the Sat Rupa ultimate substance, and I am the Chit Rupa witness consciousness principle, and the whole world is Nama and Rupa resting upon me only. And this is told in the Kaivalya Upanishad, Mayeva Sakalam Jatam, Mai Sarvam Tishtitham, Mai Sarvam Layam Yati verse. In the next slide, we see Sri Krishna teaches the essence of Vedanta in these verses, which begins with Sat and ends with Chit. Tat means Sat Brahman, the existence principle, which is the substance, which is a noun like gold in the golden bangle. And this Sat Brahman, this is the Sat Brahman. Again, revising this verse, Sarvatah Panipadam, it pervades everywhere, just as the gold pervading all through the ornament. Sat Brahman is the ultimate substance in the whole creation and beyond. Sarvato Kshiro Mukham, Brahman alone has got eyes, head, face, etc. There is only Virat Ishvara. Sarvata Shruti Malloke, Sat Brahman is everywhere with ears. Shruti here means ears. Sarva Maamrita, Sarva Mavrita Tishtati, Brahman remains pervading, surrounding everything. Tat Sat Brahma. Hari Om.
Thank you, Dr. Divakar. This was absolutely brilliant, because trying to explain Brahman as Sat is perhaps one of the most difficult aspects of all Vedanta. And through my own experience, I can say with confidence, one needs to be able to be with this topic for at least 10 years of intense studying before it can render meaning. Fortunately for us, all these talks are recorded, and I can endorse every word what Dr. Divakar said is authentic, in accord with what Swamiji has said. And a sincere student would listen to it again, make notes, listen to the original talk of Swamiji, so that we will be able to understand what is this whole world, the substance of the whole world as existence, and it manifests as a computer, as man, woman, etc. So essentially, Sarvam Kaluvidam Brahma, as existence. The whole world is none other than Brahman with various Nama and Rupa. And because of the Nama and Rupa, we get caught and we forget the existence part of this whole world. When we were talking about Vishwarupa Ishvara Darshana, and I had an opportunity to spend some time introducing this topic. And as we went more than 11 talks, I use that first part to introduce Brahman as Sat, because essentially what we see in the 11th chapter, this whole world is Vishwarupa Ishvara. But in the Upanishads, the Vishwarupa Ishvara is seen as the Sat principle, and using our teacher, Swami Paramarthananda, who's none other than Sakshat Dakshinamurti, and I could see no one else bringing out this so clearly, has explained this Sat principle. Essentially, this verse which Dr. Devakar explained in a very poetic and in a very beautiful style, the Upanishad is saying, the Gita verse is saying, in every eye, in every head, in every hand, in every feet, let me be able to see Brahman. This whole world is none other than Brahman in the form of existence. Everything that you see is Vishwarupa Ishvara or Brahman as Sat. This particular class will take a little longer because each of these sessions need a little more explanation. And it's my fortune to be able to explain this particular verse. Sarvendriya gunabhasam, sarvendriya vivarjitam, asaktam sarvabritchaiva, nirgunam guna bhokrita cha. Now, how do we study these verses? These are all, as I said, from 13 to 19, starting from Sat, ending in Chit. All these are very, very paradoxical verses. Vedanta has no paradoxes, but they are seeming paradoxes. Let me take only Sarvendriya Gunabhasam. Brahman is evident in every Indriya, through every sense organs. Through Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, through all my sense organs, all that I see and experience is none other than Brahman. Through Sarva Guna, through every object that I see in the world, all objects have certain gunas. Through all gunas, Bhasam is evident, Brahman in the form of existence. The rest of it is difficult to understand because it is apavada. Even though Brahman is known through every sense organ, Sarvendra Vivarjitam. It does not have any sense organs. Asaktam. It does not have, it is, there are two words which I didn't touch on earlier. These are called immanent and transcendental. These two words have to be understood. Brahman is like space. It is in and through everything. When something is in and through, just like space, it is pervades every cell of my body. It is so close to me, it is immanent. At the same time, it is transcendental. Transcendental means it is of a higher order of reality. Just like you see the movie on a screen, without the adhara, without the support of the screen, the movie cannot be played. And yet, because the screen is of a higher order compared to those images projected on the screen, anything that happens on the screen, if there is fire or there is water, it does not affect the screen. Why? It is transcendental. Transcendental means the screen is of a higher order, it cannot be affected. So this is the meaning of the word asaktam, sarva brichaiva. It is the support, the adhara of the whole world. It is nirguna, it has no attributes, but at the same time, it seems to be the enjoyer of all attributes. We have to understand something what is called adhyaropa apavada. Now, for example, I will show you my hand and ask you, in addition to my hand, what do you see? By now we know I'm seeing hand plus light. Now, initially, we did not notice the light on my hand. So the teacher has adhyaropa, introduced the hand to show the imperceptible light. And then once you are sure that there is light because of which I'm able to see the hand, the teacher quietly removes the hand and says, now become aware of the light which has always been there even before the hand came into being and which continues to be there even after the hand goes. And that is what is called apavada. When you introduce the hand, it is called adhyaropa. Once you have proved the existence of light and then you remove the hand, it is apavada. And so too what we do is include the world along with existence, that is called adhyaropa, and then remove, dismissing the world and becoming aware of the existence principle. That means even if my hand is not there, The existence principle continues to be there. Sarvendriya gunabhasam. Brahman is evident through every sense organ, through every guna. This is adhyarupa. Sarvendriya vivarjitam. It has no sense organs. That is apavada. Sarva brith adhyarupa. It is the support of everything. Asaktam apavada. Guna bhokkrita. That means it is the enjoyer of all. That is adhyarupa. It is nirgunam apavada. These things have to be understood. With that, we come to the end of today's class. The next class will be on Friday. The next class is on the 10th of May, which will be a Disha class on Karma Yoga from verses 8 to verses 20. We will have a chanting of these verses by Kumari Dhimahi. Dhimahi, please.
Hari Om Satgurubhyom Namaha. Maitananya Yogena Bhaktirvar Viktarini Vivikta Desha Sevitvam Aratirjana Sansadi Adhyatmanyana Nityatvam Tattvanyanartha Darshanam Etadnyanam iti proktam Ajnanam yattatonyatha Jñēyam yattatra vakshami Yajñātvamritam ashnute Anadimat param brahma Nasattanna saduchyate Sarvata panipadanta Sarvatokshi shiromukam Sarvata shrutimaloke Sarvam mauritya tishtati Sarvendriya gunabhasam Sarvendriya vivarjitam Asaktam sarvabhrichaiva Nirgunam gunabhoktracha Hari Om Shri Gurubhyom Namaha Hari Om.
Thank you, Dhimahi, for a fluent chanting. Thank you all the teachers of the day for a beautiful session. Next Friday on 3rd June 2022, we will continue this 13th chapter with new set of verses. On Monday, 30th May 2022, let us log in for a next episode of Disha 11 at 6:45 p.m. Hari Om. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.